Iktomi is a trickster in Lakota stories. This character exists in many, many different Indian cultures, which leads me to wonder, yeah, why is that, and what does that mean? Yeah, there are Iktomi songs as well, and they exist in many, many tribes, and they all have the same melody, and even, you know, these tribes have totally different languages, totally different belief systems, different society structures, family systems, totally different. But this is the one thing they all have in common, this Iktomi character. Of course, in different tribes, they're different name. Yeah, he has a different name because they have different languages, but the character is the same. That makes me wonder, what is that? Yeah, the character represents duality. What you're supposed to learn from these Iktomi stories is the thinking process underneath it, not the fact that he tricks himself or ends up in trouble or doing something funny or whatever. That's entertaining, yes, and that does serve a purpose. It makes you laugh. It makes you go, gee, that's rugged. But if you go deeper and you learn the process underneath the stories, that's really deep. Yeah, and that shows your spiritual level of development when you can figure that out. Yeah. So even if you don't get there, you still learn from those stories. They still teach you things. Yeah. So, but he teaches his thinking process is dualistic, and so as a result, there's always something missing in the Iktomi way. Yeah. For example, and Lakota medicine wheel has 4 parts. The Iktomi medicine wheel has 3. Yeah. The Lakota medicine wheel has the colors black, white, yellow, and red in that order in the Lakota Star Knowledge stories. Now, in some other people might say they might switch the white and the red around. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm telling you is the Lakota Star Knowledge version of the story. Now, sometimes people may receive an instruction in which they're also given their order of medicine wheel colors. That only is for them. And that might be a different order. It might even be different colors. But one color unites all medicine wheels, and that's black. And that's always, always, always at the west. It's not in the south, it's not in the north, it's not in the east. It's always in the west. Excuse me, that's the first direction. This is birth. This is the reason why. Yeah? So it's always going to be west. It's black is always going to be west. It's always going to be the first direction. But the others may switch orders. It always depends on the person's vision or instruction, or there may be members of a certain dream society that the other 3 colors will be different, but black will always be there. This is the unifying element to all medicine wheels. This is where they connect. Yeah? So just remember it that way. So when I say, black is west, white is north, and yellow is east, and red is south, this is Lakota Star Knowledge instruction. And they say when you live a healthy life, what I explained at the beginning of the show, when you live that way, your soul is always facing the south direction. That's why they say you're on the red road. So according to that, the red road is going south. So that means that south is represented by the color red. See, this is all coming from Lakota Star Knowledge. Again, red does not represent Indians. It represents the way to live, a healthy way to live. It doesn't mean you have to do ceremonies. Excuse me. People really make that mistake. They think it's the Indian way. So they say that to be on a red road, you're supposed to do ceremonies, have a pipe, and have an Indian name. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. Yeah, that might be an Indian way, but that's not the red road. The red road is a healthy way to live. It belongs to no religion. It belongs to no ceremonies. Yeah, and it has no sacred items, because living a healthy life is a ceremony, and you are the sacred item. That's all you need. That's the way of the ancestors. That's what I said earlier. Yeah. So that's the medicine wheel. Just a little discussion on the medicine wheel here, a little bit more, because I said something about it earlier. Okay, that's a Lakota medicine wheel. Okay, now the Iktomi medicine wheel only has 3 parts. Yeah, it only has 3 colors: black, white, red. Yeah, black, white, red. That's the Iktomi medicine wheel. The Lakota pipe, the bowl is made out of pipestone. This has the blood of the Dakota ancestors in it. This is why you're supposed to speak either Lakota, Dakota, or Nakota in front of that pipe. Nothing else. You're not supposed to speak Ojibwe. You're not supposed to speak German. You're not supposed to speak English or Japanese or Navajo or Spanish. You're supposed to speak either Lakota, Dakota, or Nakota in front of the pipe, because the blood of the Dakota ancestors is in that pipestone, and their tune is in there. That's a spiritual essence that comes from them. That's why you have to show that kind of honor, yeah, to that stone. And it doesn't even have to be carved into a pipestone. It's already alive. When tune is inside something, that means it's already alive. So that rock is already sacred. You can cut a piece of that rock, hold it in your hand. It's already sacred. It's already alive. See, a lot of people, they teach this incorrect teaching of saying, "Well, it's just a rock," and it's not sacred until you bless it in the sweat lodge. No, that's false. That's absolutely false. It's already sacred because of the blood of the Dakota ancestors that's in there. That's what makes it pink. That's why it's soft. Yeah, the blood is literally in there. And blood carries something called tune. That's the essence of the soul. That's why the soul, the essence, not the soul, but the essence of the souls of the Dakota ancestors that died in the Mother Earth cleansing in that location, that makes that stone sacred. It doesn't even have to be carved in the shape of a pipe or anything. It already is sacred. It's not just a rock. Yeah? So that's the teaching. I really have to get out there more, because people really believe incorrect things about this. Yeah, these are Dakota ancestors in there. So that's the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota pipe. Yeah, but the Iktomi pipe is made out of a black stone. You see, there's always Iktomi versions of everything, and they're always incomplete. There's something missing. Yeah, and that's representing duality, because in duality there is something missing. Yeah, and you heard me explain what that was at the beginning of the show. So that's some history about Iktomi. Now, Iktomi was not always this way. He was, you see, he was a really wise person, and he had a different name. Yeah, he had a different name, and he went by the name of Ksa. And the word Ksa is in the word Woksape, which is wisdom. And he was a really wise person, but then, see, he has a funny appearance. That's the problem to some people. And whenever he came someplace, people really laugh because he has a really funny way of walking, and he just looks funny. Yeah. So and there's a reason why. Yeah. He's I'm not going to explain. That's kind of sacred. Yeah. Excuse me. But his parents are really how can I say this? They're very sacred people. Yeah. But one of them um, is motion. I mean, not motion. I shouldn't say motion. One of them, one of his parents, the body is always in movement. Yeah, so that's why half of his body is that way. So that makes part of his body kind of elastic. Yeah, it's always changing shape, and so it looks funny. So when he comes walking, it's kind of goofy, and it makes people laugh. And then, after thousands of years of this, he got tired of that, and he tried to trick the people, and including the sacred people. He tried to trick the sacred people, and here it backfired. So the leader of the sacred people told him. He said, Iktomi was trying to. Oh, his name was Ksa. Let me say Ksa first. Ksa was trying to escape. Yeah, he was trying to escape the presence of the sacred ones, and he couldn't. Yeah, so he tried to dig into the earth. So the leader of the sacred ones said, "That's what you're going to be from now on." And then he said, "From now on, you're Iktomi. Iktomi is a spider." That's his association. Yeah, excuse me. So, so ever since then, that's kind of how he is. Yeah, and so from then, because he tried to trick the sacred ones, they said that's how you're going to be from here on. You're no longer Ksa. Now you're Iktomi. That's how he came to be. That's really a fast version, yeah? There's another version. You heard me talk earlier about the cycle of a man and the cycle of a woman. This is one of the results from his trick. Yeah, he tried to trick. When I say the sacred people, I mean the people who make up these organizations called Wakantranka. Wakantranka does not mean God. It does not mean the Creator. That's what the Christians wanted Indians to believe in. Remember what I said on this when I was talking about the boarding school experience and this how we lost our way of thinking and how now we're really dualistic today. Remember that discussion before the music break? Okay, well, during that process, the Christian priests, they changed definitions of lots of things to fit biblical teachings. And the word Wakantranka was one of them. Because see, Wakantranka, that's an organization, and there's more than one. They carry the same name, but they do different things. And it's not about which is the good one and which is the bad one. It's not about good versus evil at all. There are just several Wakantranka organizations. That's all. Yeah. There's what do you call it? What they do is they're involved with the how this earth is, how the earth lives, how we live. They're they also created things too. So it's not, we don't have a one God concept, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So Wakantranka, these are organizations. So that doesn't fit the Bible. So the Christian priests changed that to mean their God. And remember what I said back then in the early 1900s, that we were so weak-minded because we were deprived of healthy food, our spirituality, and our language, that we became incredibly weak-minded, that we began to accept what the priests were saying. So we started to accept that Wakantranka meant their God. So today, most Lakota people, when they talk about Wakantranka, they think that means God. And then they'll say, Togashila Wakantranka to mean God, and Ate Wakantranka to mean Jesus. These are Catholic translations. These are not real Lakota translations. Wakantranka is an organization. And this Ksa, he was their counselor. But after he tried to do this trick, he tried to trick the Wakantranka, and it backfired. Then he became known as Iktomi. Yeah? So that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so from that trick resulted lots of nice things. Yeah, like the cycle of a man, the cycle of a woman. That's all comes from that incident. Lots of things came from that. Yeah, lots of wonderful things came from that. So he tried to trick people, but it ended up backfiring. There was some punishments that happened, but still some good things came out of it too. Yeah, and so anyway, this is Iktomi. Now I can't really tell a complete Iktomi story because Lakota Star Knowledge says that Iktomi stories can only be told when they go underground. So that's going to be from, I don't know, beginning of January to beginning of March, somewhere around there, maybe December into February or something like that. That's the only time you can tell these Iktomi stories, because that's to show him respect. Because if you tell the stories during the summertime, see, when you're talking about the stories in detail, that's calling something to happen that might not be good. It might not be healthy, and a person could get sick from it. Yeah? Usually they say back injuries are involved with that. So you have to be careful. Yeah. So in our culture you can say his name, but you can only tell the stories at a certain time of the year. In other cultures, you can't even say his name. Yeah. And some cultures are that way. Some tribal cultures, you can't even say his name. Only during those certain months. So, but do you see the connection, yeah, between all tribes that have these? It's really interesting. Anyway, there's one I can't really tell you, but I can tell you about the story, yeah, because all stories start out with he was going around trying to, Iktomi was walking around, he was walking along, and he saw this, and so forth. And by this time, he really had a wide reputation. Everybody knew about him, and whenever they saw him coming, they all got out of the way. And they're like, "Oh shit! Look who's coming! Let's get out of here before he tries to trick us." Yeah. So that's how that happened. Now, one day he couldn't find anybody. Yeah, everybody took off from him because they all knew of his reputation. So as soon as they saw him, they headed out. Yeah, pulled up their teepees and started running away with the teepee poles. Yeah, oh shit! Look who's coming! Rugged guy, yeah. As soon as people recognized him, even from a distance, they took off because they didn't want to talk to him because they didn't want to, they didn't want to get tricked or, they just wanted to avoid him like the plague. So one day he was like, "Gee, where'd everybody go?" And so he said to himself, I got nobody to trick. So he said, "Well, I'm going to do the ultimatist trick." Yeah, he said to himself, "I'm going to do the mostest ultimatist trick. I'm going to trick myself," he said. Do you see the thinking here? This guy's just off, yeah? "I'm going to trick myself," he said. How do you think he did that? How do you think he tricked himself? "I'm going to trick myself." Who says that, yeah? So, we're talking about Iktomi, how he was going around one day and people were taking off from him. Yeah? As soon as they recognized him, they would take off. Yeah? They absolutely didn't want to take a chance on becoming tricked or being tricked by him. So Finally, he just said to himself, oh, I can't find anybody. It's a trick, so I'm gonna trick myself. He said, I'm gonna do the best trick in the world. I'm gonna trick myself. Shucks. So that means he has to do the opposite of what he normally does. Yeah. To trick himself, he has to do the opposite of what he normally does. So he gives the people 2 ceremonies. Yeah, and then he says, there has to be somebody who conducts the ceremony, these 2 ceremonies, and so he said he's going to choose them, and when he chooses the one to be, this kind of a healer, he's going to give him power to heal. This is the only kind of a medicine man that has power. Yeah. See, the others, in Lakota Star Knowledge, there's a distinction between holy people and medicine people. Holy people are people who they see things that we don't see. They hear things that we don't hear. They can communicate with things that we can't hear or see. They know the language of these beings called Tugashilapi. Yeah, these are, people call them spirits, but they're not really spirits. They are real beings. Yeah, because they do come in ceremonies. They just, it's kind of like I can't say too much about it because it's a sacred thing, but they are very helpful. The word Tungashila, this comes from a word called Tungang. Yeah, this is a original creation. This is a grandfather, you could say. It's a helpful being, and whenever when in our language, whenever something is endearing to you, something is really special to you because you love it, whatever it is, you add the suffix la at the end. Yeah? Like for those of us who are parents and, you have, like the girl, we chincha la. See the la on there? Same thing for boys. Hokshila. You see that? The la, that's what that's signifying. So as these Tungan started to help people, see, the Tungan, they choose who holy people are going to be. And it has nothing to do with how smart you are or how spiritual you are, because that would be linear thinking. And that's not what nature is like. Yeah, nature is not linear at all. It does go in a certain direction, but it also can go in other directions at the same time too. Yes, we are born, but we don't really die. We're born again. Yeah? So, excuse me. So, this is what we learn from nature. So, to say that, going from point A to point Z, including all the alphabet letters in between, some people will say that's the journey. That's what we're supposed to do. And Lakota Star Knowledge says no, it's not. Lakota Star Knowledge puts all points in a circle and says, okay, we start someplace, and then we move forward for a time. But during the time that we travel between 2 points, we change. So it might be a good idea to go back to that starting point again to see what you missed the first time, because you've developed, you've changed. That means you see more. So you go to the starting point again, and yeah, there it was. It was there the whole time, but you just weren't developed enough to see it. So in the Lakota Star Knowledge, it's kind of encouraged that you take some time to go back to a point where you've already been and look at it again, because you might see something you didn't pick up the last time. That's why it's important to come to peace with difficulties from the past. So when you think of them, it doesn't bother you, and then you might see something you didn't see before, and you learn something again. Yeah, that's the reason why. So for our people, it's I shouldn't say our people, because really it's for everybody. I should say for the ancestors, it's non-linear thinking. It doesn't just go forward. Yeah, it can go in different directions sometimes at the same time. That's through our consciousness. Yeah. So that's how we continue to learn. That's what life is about. Yeah, learning so we can live, so we can love. So when as we live with our bodies, as our bodies develop, that doesn't mean they're getting better. It just means we're learning. And sometimes we have to go backwards to learn. Yeah? And so when these Tungan so they later became known as Tungashi. Yeah? These beings. See, they can see inside our bodies. They see where our physical body, our mind, our emotions, and our soul, they see where that connects. They see our sacred centers. And so they look inside somebody and they see, oh, there's one that could make a really good instrument. So they choose that person. It doesn't have to do with that person being good. It doesn't have to do with that person going to a bunch of ceremonies or, his level of spirituality. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the complete makeup of that person. That there's something about that person that makes him perfect to be a candidate, to be an instrument for the Tangashi. See, they see it. We don't, but they see it. So they choose who the holy people are going to be. So in other words, you can't be a holy person just by doing a bunch of ceremonies and then thinking you know enough and then now you can teach or whatever and conduct your own ceremonies and make yourself a medicine man or whatever. It doesn't work like that. That's linear thinking. And that's really disrespectful to these beings because they're the ones who are doing the work. They are the ones who are doing the healing. The holy people are just instruments, nothing more. They have absolutely no power. The power is coming from these Tunga. They're the ones that are doing the work. They're just using the body of the holy person to conduct whatever needs to be done with the physical body. But they're the ones doing the work. The healing is flowing from them through the holy person and into the person being doctored. So a well-known holy person by the name of Fool's Crow, he described it like this. He said, I'm like a hollow bones. He said, I don't have any power. He said, I'm like a hollow bones. They work through me. I don't do anything. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they do. But they use me to do it. That's what a holy person is. He's not a man, that has all this mystical power and, it has nothing at all. That's a holy person. But they can see these things. They talk with them. They can speak with animals. Yeah, they can speak with plants. They know their languages. That's a holy person. And they see themselves as servants to all creation, including to the plants and animals. So if you go inside a real holy person's house, there's no screens, there's no screen doors, there's bugs crawling around on the inside, and do you see what I mean? They're servants to them. It's a hard life to live. Usually they say if they choose you, don't plan on getting married because you're not going to have time for your wife, you're not going to have time for your husband, you're not going to have time for your children because you're always going to be doing their work. It's a hard life. Yeah. So that's what this is. That's holy persons. Medicine people, a medicine man, medicine woman, what they do is they work with plants. They know the songs to process the plants and to administer the whatever it is, the medicine to the people who are sick. These are medicine people. Holy people can choose to be medicine people also, but it doesn't work the other way around. Medicine, when a person becomes a medicine person, they can't just say they're going to be a holy person, because remember, it's these beings, these Tungashi, that choose them. Now, as I said, these helpful beings, they really they became so loved by the people that they added the la at the end of it. So they're called Tungashi la. That's singular. When a bunch of them are in a room, they call them Tungashi la bi. The bi is the plural. Yeah, that's the first definition of that word. As the humans came upon the earth for the first time, and the people became to be old, and men became grandfathers, that they gave them that name too. Tungashila. Now, so that means grandfather. But they added that concept to grandmother too, and that's a lot of people don't use that word, and that's sad. Unchila is a grandmother that's really endearing to you. Unchi just means a normal grandmother, but one who's really loving to you, you say unchila. That word does exist. It's just that people don't use it, and I don't know why. Yeah, and then the third definition was when we came into contact with Americans, and they're trying to make treaties with the people, and the chiefs were saying, well, who is this president? Who is this American president? What does he do? And they said that, well, he takes care of his people. He loves them. He loves all the children. And then they said, the chief said, like a grandpa. And they said, yeah, like a grandfather. So then they called the president Tungashila. The third definition. So in this flag song that they have, you hear this word Tungashila Tawapaha. That's the president's flag. They're talking about the American flag. They're not talking about a prayer flag. A lot of people misunderstand that. Yeah, that's the third definition of Tungashila. So anyway, the Tungashila B choose the holy people. And holy people cannot make other holy people. They can't choose, because remember, they don't have any power. Yeah, so it's the Tungashila B that choose who they're going to be. And for medicine people, excuse me, they can choose who another one, yeah, because they're going to recognize something about a kid, that this boy or girl is like, this kid really likes plants. So they watch them, yeah, and then they slowly, guide them, and then they see if they want to be a medicine person, and then they choose them. Yeah, they then teach them, and they recognize the herbs. They show them how to prepare them. They teach them the songs that they need to sing as they're doing preparation and administration of the medicine. That's medicine people. They can choose each other, but they only deal with plants and their preparation, administration, and prayer. Yeah, and that's their work. So medicine man and holy man are not the same thing. Okay? Now, getting back to this Iktomi thing, one of the two ceremonies that he gave the people is Yupiki. And so usually today they call the men who Iktomi chooses as Yupiki men. Yeah, and he gives them power. So, Yuipi men are the only ones of all these healers who really have power. Yeah, and usually they have a spider with them all the time. That's who's giving them the power. That's what Iktomi means. Yeah, but there's an interesting take on this that even though Yuipi men are the only kind of healers who have any power, each time they conduct one of these ceremonies, they lose a little bit of it. Yeah. They when they run out of power, then they're not Yuipi men anymore. Now they're back to normal. And it's kind of hard because they have to face really scary things in the Yuipi ceremony. I'm not going to go into detail about a Yuipi ceremony because I don't have enough time about it. But Yuipi ceremonies are really interesting, and they're done for many purposes. Yeah, they're done for finding things or people that are lost. They're done for healing incredibly difficult diseases. It's a wonderful experience, but it's also terrifying too because it's conducted in the dark, and the Tungashi Lapi come in. Yeah, they come in very extraordinary ways, and if people are not prepared for that, they're gonna shit their pants because it's really scary in the beginning. Yeah, and the singing that's involved is done really fast. It's really fast drum beat. It's as the ceremony is progressing, the singer gets more frantic. It goes into a frenzy, and things are coming into the building. Yeah, they block off the building. They take everything out. Anything that's modern, they take it out. Yeah, couches, lamps, everything, furniture. They take it all out. They shut the electricity off. And so it's just bare. They board up the windows from the outside, and they put guards at the windows, at the doorways, so nobody gets in, nobody gets out. Excuse me. And it can be really scary, yeah. But before they close up the area, they bring in food, yeah. They're going to have a big feast at the end. See, the food is going to be not just for the people there, but for the visitors that are going to come, yeah, that they're going to enter after the room is sealed up. It's for them too, yeah. So they bring the food, put it in the center of the room, and then everybody sits around, yeah, around in the room. They lean against the wall, they sit down, that kind of thing. You have to be sitting down. And then what they normally do is, Yuipi means to wrap. Yeah, they wrap up. That's what that means. So they get like a rope, and then they wrap the Yuipi man up completely. Yeah, he's got his arms tugged in, everything. They wrap him up so that there's just a space so he can breathe. So his eyes are covered and everything. Then they lay him there. There's other things that they do, but I can't talk about that because that's kind of a sacred thing. Yeah, but there are other things that they do too that I didn't mention. I'm just giving you a very quick explanation of a typical one. All right. Then the singers, excuse me, they have a drum and they start to sing the songs that go with these ceremonies. And then they become, they get more energized because you can start feeling something happening in the room, and it's going to be different depending on, what's going to happen. Is this ceremony to find somebody or something lost, or is this to be to heal somebody from a really serious disease? Yeah, so it's going to be scary in the beginning. So they do this. So they start singing, and then just out of the blue, certain things come. They see them I shouldn't say too much, but you see extraordinary things. Yeah, and one I can say because it is documented in a book. Yeah, and it is a true experience. In some of these instances, a light comes and you see something climbing out of the light. Yeah, you see the shadows of it climbing out of the light, and then you hear them. They are on the ceilings. They're walking on the ceiling. They're walking on the walls. Stuff like they're flying around the room, and then when they sometimes they come and they might sit on your lap. Yeah, and then you feel how small these beings are. And at a certain time in the ceremony, they tell the people to face the wall. So everybody turns and faces the wall, and then these beings, if there might be something you're thinking about, yeah, and these things know, they can read you, yeah. So they'll go behind one of your ears. I'm not going to tell you which one. There's a protocol to this. Yeah, they go behind one of your ears, and it has to be that one ear. And I'm not going to say which one it is, but those of you who are knowledgeable, you know which side it is. Yeah, and my students, they know which side it is too. They go behind that ear, and they're going to tell you the answer. And you could be a total stranger to this Yupiki man. You may not even know him, so it's not him. You might not know anybody there, but yet something told you the answer to what you're wondering about. You see what I mean? So this is the kind of thing that happens on the side. Really wonderful things, and then they like I said, the singing gets more into a frenzy, gets really frantic, and then other things happen that I cannot mention that are sacred. And but concerning the finding things that are lost, this is really interesting. Is that you need something that belonged to that person or that thing. Yeah, so like say for example, if a person was missing, you need something from that person. Sweater, hair, because see, I said something earlier about a word "tun." This is the spiritual essence, and it goes in our clothes. When we wear our clothes, our tun goes in there. It's still connected to us. This is why we're supposed to take care of our clothes. We're not just supposed to leave them anywhere, because some unhealthy energy. No, I didn't say evil. I said unhealthy. It's not the same thing. Okay? An unhealthy energy could come into contact with your sweater. Let's say, for example, you're riding in a pickup truck and your cowboy hat falls off, and you just say, "Oh, heck with it, it's old anyway," and you just let it go. Next thing you know, some unhealthy energy comes near it. Maybe it's in a ditch someplace, but an unhealthy energy comes near it. See, it's still connected to you. Your tune is in that hat. You were wearing it, so it went in there. So if that unhealthy energy comes into contact with your tune in that hat, even if you're 10,000 miles away, it's still connected to you, and you could get sick. This is why people are really careful about where they leave their belongings when they travel, or when they brush their hair. They're really careful about their hair, because tune is in there too, and babies with their shit, tune is in that. So grandmothers in the 70s used to really get mad at their daughters for throwing the disposable Pampers when they first came out in the early 70s or 60s or whenever. People didn't know these teachings because of what I said earlier about the churches saying that our ways were from the devil. So a lot of young women didn't know about this tune thing. So when they bought Pampers, as they were disposable diapers, as they were invented, they're driving down the road and their baby takes the shit, so they change the diaper and then just throw the diaper out into the ditch. And their mothers would really get mad at them for that. Yeah, because something unhealthy can touch it, then the baby's restless that night. That's a really old tradition. Yeah, and nobody keeps that. So, see, this is what I mean. That's what Tung is. That's why I said, excuse me, in a Yuipi ceremony, you need to bring, if you're looking for somebody, you need to bring something that belonged to that person. And then these Tungashi Lapi, see, that's who come to the ceremony. They look at this item and they see time and space differently than we do. They can look someplace, make an internal adjustment, and they see something thousands of miles away. They don't see time and space like we do. So they can find it, and they can describe the area where it's located. And that's how they do it, through this tung. Because, see, this tung is still attached to the person who's missing. Even if the person missing is dead, it's still attached. So they can see where the person is, and looking at the person, they can even see what happened to that person, how they got there. And they'll tell that to the holy person. I mean, the Yuipi man. Yeah, that's how they solve those kind of mysteries. The one happened on Shan River in the 1990s that was really interesting. I'll try to say this as quick because it's kind of a fast story. Long story. A young lady went missing. She had a little girl, and I think she was about 17 or 18 years old, and she went missing. Nobody ever found her. They never found her. So the relatives that raised this little girl. Well, this girl became a woman, of course, and then she learned about this Yuipi ceremony. So she got one. She got a Yuipi man from Pine Ridge. They said the body was located such and such. They went there. Nothing was there. They got several Yuipi men from Pine Ridge, and then came up blank every time. So she went to Rosebud, did the same thing, got some Yuipi men from there. She had I think it was a blouse or something like that from her mom. She still had it, and they still couldn't find the body. Then she learned of one on Cheyenne River, a young guy, yeah, that was just coming into prominence now. He's a holy man, and he's also a Yuipi man too. Yeah, he's also a medicine man. He's really an amazing person. He lives out in nature. He's really humble. He doesn't advertise himself. He doesn't, brag about himself. People just hear by word of mouth, and they go. People from Hawaii have come there. People from Alaska have come there. That's how far and wide this reputation spread through people who have been healed by him. And she found out that he was also a Yuipi man, so she asked him to come and do a ceremony for her to see if she could find the mom. And he did. Yeah, he said he told them the location, and he said that she was raped, that she was riding a horse, and two men came up to her, caught the horse, and one was her uncle, and the other one was her friend, and they raped her. Yeah, they beat her up and they raped her, and then she said she was going to tell the police and stuff. So then they killed her. They smashed her head in with rock repeatedly. Then they buried her, and so they located the site. Yeah, and by this time, one of the men was dead, and the other one, when he found out, you see, this was the uncle. Yeah. When he found out that his granddaughter was doing this Yuipi ceremony, he got really scared, hung himself. Yeah, he killed himself because he didn't want to face his family for this crime he had hidden for over 60 years. So they found the body. They sent it to forensics, and sure enough, she was bashed in the head, and most likely she was raped. I don't know how they found that out, but they did. And she was able to come to peace with it finally. It split that family apart, though, but she came to peace. She knew finally, she could have peace with her mother. And apparently she dreamt of her mother, and her mother was happy, and that, this was solved now, and things were set in motion. Yeah. See, that's an example of a Yuipi. This guy was the real thing. So the people she got from Pine Ridge and Rosebud, they couldn't even find the body. Yeah. So that made me wonder: were they real Yupiki people at all? Because there's a lot of fakes in Pine Ridge. Yeah, there are an incredible amount of fake medicine men in Pine Ridge and Rosebud, and there's fake Yupiki people in Pine Ridge and Rosebud too. And then they'll say, see, these Pine Ridge guys and these Rosebud guys, they told this woman, they said, well, that's not there, so that means somebody moved it. Gee, they were at Pierre. They were, this is the state of South Dakota, the state capital of South Dakota. They went all over the place, and it's like, if knowing this old man, there was no way he could have done that. And when the forensics looked at the grave, grave thing, this body was there the whole time. It was never moved. Yeah. So the guy and the guys in Pine Ridge and Rosebud, they were lying. Yeah. They were not telling her the truth. And they asked to be paid for their services. Real holy people, medicine people, and Yupiki men do not ask to be paid. They do what they do. It's up to you. Yeah. Now here's the thing with when you're a Yupiki person. See, remember what I said in a Yupiki ceremony, that before everything is sealed up, they bring in lots of food. There has to be a feast. That's the rule. There has to be a feast at the end of the ceremony. And the Yupiki person, the Yupiki man, he's going to serve everybody. And he wants you to come hungry. He wants you to get full, because you cannot take leftovers. The food has to be eaten up completely. And he's going to be the last one to eat. And whatever food is left over, he has to eat it up before he leaves. Now, there's one part I left out. I just remembered that before these Tungasilapi do their work, they eat this food. So they're not literally eating it. What they're doing is they're taking the tone from the food, the spiritual essence from the food. That's what they're eating. And then they do their work. They with this Yupiki man. Yeah. And then when the ceremony's over, then they towel the doors and they open the doors, stuff like that, and the people come in, they turn the electricity back on, and then they'll see the whole the Yupiki man will be sitting there, and the rope is going to be coiled perfectly, straight up in the air, small coil, yeah, it's going to be coiled perfectly, one round all the way, straight up in the air. That's really hard to do in a short amount of time. So the belief is that these Tungasilapi, they're the ones who do it. Yeah? And then the ceremony's over, and then he feasts, the Yupiki man starts feeding people, and he's, eat more. He wants you to eat seconds, thirds, fourths. Because whatever's left over, he has to eat. Yeah, so usually they say a really good Yupiki man is really a big guy, yeah? Oh, shucks. And so that's kind of a funny element, but you see, that's the Iktomi element of this ceremony. That's a wonderful gift that he brought to the people by tricking himself. He did that to trick himself. He helped the people. Yeah, to do a wonderful, wonderful ceremony. People have had diabetes cured through this ceremony. This is not a joke. Yeah, there's all kinds of really severe illnesses have been cured. But see, you're not supposed to advertise it. You're not supposed to brag about it. You're supposed to be humble with it. Accept it and live your life in a healthy way from then on. Take care of yourself. Yeah. Exercise and do healthy things for others and yourself, and maintain it. Because if you don't, it might backfire. You see what I mean? So it's not out of fear; it's out of love that they say, "Okay, take care of yourself now. Yeah, maintain it. You're healed now. You can maintain it." And so wonderful healings have happened from these ceremonies. People are not supposed to talk about it, yeah, because it was done in a very, very sacred way, and that's why. So that's information on that. So that's what we got from Iktomi when he tried to trick himself. The other ceremony is called Lawampi. It's basically a Yupiki ceremony, but without all the no. How did they say again? Lawampi is like a Yupiki ceremony, but it's just the singing. Yeah, it's just the singing part. So there's no wrapping up. There's no Tungashi Lapi coming in, but the songs are really powerful songs. So just singing the songs in a ceremonial setting can really do wonders too. That's how powerful these two ceremonies are. And we got that from Iktomi by trying to trick himself. Yeah? He deceived himself. And look at the wonderful thing that we got. So yes, you can deceive somebody to do something good. Yeah? Shucks. I tell that story more in detail during the time. You can tell Iktomi stories. Yeah, it's so hilarious. I mean, but anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Yeah, so I'll let you think about that, yeah, I'll just let you think about that, and yeah, there's another question, but I don't know if I'm going to pose this or not. Okay, I just to keep you out of curiosity, I'll pose the question. You notice I said medicine people, sacred people, which indicates that women can be this. But the only time a woman can do that is when she passes through menopause. This has to do with that cycle of a man and the cycle of a woman. Okay, that these two things do exist. Christianity tried to push this out because it conflicts with the Bible. So a lot of Lakota people don't know about this. And that's why they don't understand why women are not supposed to do certain ceremonies and they're not supposed to be certain things. It's not because men are better. It's the absolute opposite. As men, remember what I said earlier, women have things inside of them internally that we don't. I mean, spiritual things, ceremonial things, yeah, and we don't. So we have to do that. So for women, it's internal. For us, it's external. So to be a holy person has to do with one of these things too. So as long as a woman is still in her menstruating years, she's not supposed to do these three things. Actually, it's more than three. But it's because of that. But once she passes through menopause, then she can become, a holy person or medicine person. She can receive the teachings before, but she can't do the work until after menopause. Do you see what I mean? It has to do with that story. And again, that's a result from one of Iktomi's doings too. Yeah. So, but Yupiki people, this is only for men, because women don't have that tendency to mess up like men do. Yeah. Well, maybe some women do, but and I don't mean this to be sexist, but this is since Ksa, who becomes Iktomi, is a male. This is the reason why. I mean, think about that. It's not trying to say men are better, not at all. Like I said, it's a total opposite. It's we're less than. So these things We have to do them to come into balance. Yeah, that's the external part. We have to do things and to come into balance with womankind. That's how that works. And a lot of people don't understand that because they see things linearly, and because of what I explained earlier, they see things in a dualistic light, and not the Lakota light or the ancestral light. Okay, so that's what it's based on. All old information. And I know a lot of Lakota people are going to disagree with me on this, but that doesn't bother me. Because what I'm talking about is coming from the ancestors. It's not coming from, Indians, from past 200 years. What I'm talking about is really old, before there were the 7 ceremonies, before there was a pipe, before all of that.